Well, joining us now is a very special guest. We have with us S. Gurumurthy, editor Tughlaq, and senior ideologue with us live. S. Gurumurthy, welcome to NewsX. Thank you so much for speaking with us today. Now, we're speaking, of course, about 49 years after emergency, sir. First, let me, before we talk about the lessons of that time and era, talk to you about your memories of emergency. Tell us about your experiences of 1975, sir.
See, my experience was in two parts. One, as someone who actually participated in the underground movement as an RSS Karyakarta. And then it was at that time I came in contact with the Indian Express and with Mr. Goenka. And then in assisting the Indian Express legally and otherwise to fight the emergency. This fell in two parts. In fact, I was fortunate to be associated with the fighting of emergency as part of the media and at the same time on the ground. On the ground, my responsibility was to print and disseminate underground literature, because at that time Tamil Nadu was under DMK rule and Gujarat was under the Janata rule. And so these were two islands in which some kind of underground activity could be comfortably carried on. So here we used to print even Hindi literature in other languages apart from Tamil, and used to send it, and we had established a chain of Karyakartas for that. So that was one thing, because the newspapers were not carrying the true news. That was one important job. The other job was, since I was underground, I was given the responsibility of procuring ration for about 150 Karyakartas who were in jail. They were the breadwinners. And so for those families, we had to supply ration for their children and all that, and their minimum expenses. So I used to go collect money and ensure that these families survive. This is on the ground. So far as the Express is concerned, I still remember Ramnath Goenka and me sitting without electricity. Electricity was cut off. So we had to file a writ petition and we worked under a lantern to prepare the details for the writ petition, and then the court stayed and gave us electricity. Suddenly, the printing machinery was auctioned and the Delhi Municipal Corporation came to lift the printing machine, which is to print the paper the next day. So for that also we had to sit and prepare the writ petition and go to the court to take a stay so that the printing can go on tomorrow. So I can go on and on and on as to how this whole war played out. It is not these 21 months which is important. It is not just to recall what happened. The more important thing is the constitution amendments which were made, and the most important amendment was the 42nd Amendment. Three things were important in that. One, that the fundamental rights could be taken away by a simple law. Two, unlawful associations, which included any association, including a political party, could be banned by an executive order. And any part of the constitution can be amended without being questioned by court. And you cannot approach the Supreme Court for violation of fundamental rights. And high courts will not deal with the constitutionality of the central laws. You know, these were all fundamental changes in the constitution which completely destroyed the federal structure. And these amendments were signed by the president on 17th December 1976. Having assured herself that there will be only a single party government and that party will be under the control of her family. You know, Sanjay Gandhi played the most important extra constitutional role. Then only Mrs. Gandhi went for elections because she was sure she was going to get elected. Let us assume that Mrs. Gandhi had got elected. What is the constitution that Rahul Gandhi would have waived in the parliament? It is that constitution which destroyed the original constitution. Fortunately, Mrs. Gandhi was defeated and the accidentally put together Janata Party won. Yes. And completely removed all the amendments made to destroy the constitution. And it is that constitution passed by the Janata Party which repealed the constitution framed by Mrs. Gandhi that Rahul Gandhi is showing as the constitution today. Imagine Mrs. Gandhi had won. So it is not just a 21-year horror. The fundamental changes that were brought in the 21-month period, that was stopped by the people of India.
Absolutely. The people of India stopped it. And in fact, I was just getting to that point, Mr. Gurumurthy, that it is ironical, as you're saying, that the Prime Minister also, in fact, earlier this week called the emergency era the single biggest attack and most significant attack on, on the Indian Constitution ever. And it is quite significant and interesting that on the very day the Prime Minister made that statement, opposition MPs, including from the Congress, including Rahul Gandhi, actually were getting copies of the Constitution and showing them to the BJP, saying you are the ones eroding the Constitution, you are the ones attacking the Constitution. So what do you make of this irony and also this war over the Constitution which exists even till today in 2024?
You know why? 2 generations have been turned into complete illiterates about what happened during the emergency. Because once Mrs. Gandhi came back to power in 1980, the first thing she did was to secret and completely remove the Shaw Commission report and all the documents relating to emergency, and all this disappeared. Ira Shayyan, a DMK MP who valiantly fought against the emergency inside the parliament because he was not arrested, he had one copy of the Shaw Commission report. He called me. He said, I have applied under the Information Act, Right to Information Act, but they say no copy is available. I have one copy. So we decided that we should bring out a new edition of the Shaw Commission report as Shaw Commission report Lost and Regained. And in 2010, in a function in which Advani, who was in jail for the entire 18-month period, and Cho Ramaswamy, who valiantly fought the emergency, they released this book between 1980 and 2010. Completely the idea of that there was an emergency and all this happened was erased from public mind. Only one document has survived, and that is now on record because of the efforts undertook by Cherian. How will the people of India know what happened then? How will these new set of politicians know what happened then? How will the Congress leaders know what happened then? And Rahul Gandhi was a 5-year-old baby at that time. So he is also part of the illiterate gang. So yes. The nation, its consciousness, its memories was completely in a state of suspended animation. So, did this happen at that time? This is the question in people do not even believe. When I explain it to my grandchildren, yes, did it happen that way? The media people ask me, did it happen that way? The unthinkable, unimaginable did happen. So it is not the 21-month horror. If Janata Party had not won, what would have been the Constitution of India? The people of India must know, the media must know, the commentators must know, the political class must know. It is not
Had it
just
not
me,
been for
sir.
the people of India, what would the Constitution of India look like is the fundamental question you are raising.
Fundamental
And,
question.
and you are saying many should know. But then do you believe that the Congress would rather not have the nation know that? Which is why they are the ones that took objection to the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla moving a motion in this new parliament to actually condemn the emergency. The Congress is very upset with that. The Congress has lodged strong objections to this even till date. They are quick to call the media biased in today's India of 2024. But again, they will forget about what happened with the media and the press in 1975, something that you, of course, know very well.
So the media was always biased in favor of the Congress, except to the Indian Express. The entire media was biased in favor of the Congress from 1950 to 1975. But they didn't just want a biased media. They wanted a committed press, a committed judiciary, a committed administration. This was openly spoken about. A committed judiciary, a committed press, a committed administration. So this is traveling beyond asking for a favorable media. So this is autocracy. I need not have to say this. B.N. Tandon, who was a joint secretary in the Prime Minister's office, he has written a date-wise diary in which on 31st December 1974, 6 months before the emergency, you must read what he wrote. He said, my forebodings are bad. I see fascist tendencies in the Prime Minister. She is intolerant. She is the problem. He is sitting in the PMO. He is writing this. And he said, I feel that the JP movement is not the cause. The cause is the Prime Minister. And he expressed apprehension that it was going towards dictatorship 6 months before the emergency was proclaimed. So you must understand, it is in the DNA of the Congress after the Congress was broken in 1969 and it lost its public character and became a private property of one family. The whole agenda changed into personal power. A big danger we escaped because of the illiterate people of India and the Congress, the excesses committed by the emergency regime and the underground network established by the RSS produced a kind of a movement at the bottom which threw out Mrs. Gandhi. That is why the country avoided the 42nd Amendment from becoming the Constitution of India.
Absolutely. That's a point. That's a point that I noticed, Mr. Gurumurthy, you're continuously raising, of course, and emphasizing on, re-emphasizing on. What are the lessons then that you believe we should learn from that time and apply even to today? What must we not forget, and what are the lessons from that time which we must, continue to imbibe so that we do not return to that point of ever changing the constitution or ever, embracing that kind of dictatorial attitude in our country of today?
First, I am appealing to this government to establish a huge museum of emergency. What happened? What led to emergency? What happened during the emergency? And what would have happened if the Janata Party had not come back to power? If Congress had come back to power in 1977, what would have happened? This would have been the constitution. This must be very, very forcefully, artfully, and intellectually, convincingly brought out before the people. And the media on its part, which had kept 2 generations ignorant and illiterate, must begin to have debates on them. This is what happened. Not many people are alive. Very few are alive who were there at that time to share their personal experiences. And you must reprint the articles which appeared immediately after the emergency, and that should permeate and become part of the national consciousness. You can never defend the constitution or democracy unless this virtue of what happened at that time becoming part of the people's consciousness. So a huge movement is, intellectual movement is needed, academic movement is needed.
Yes.
We have got to ensure that our academic institutions
Yes.
also fall in line,
Yes.
because this entire fact has been suppressed by the Congress for 30 years.
Okay. My final question to you before we let you go, since we have got you on a day when another controversy has also gripped Parliament, I'd like your quick take on that, on what is the Sengol controversy. You have a member of Parliament from the Samajwadi Party who's actually written to the Lok Sabha Speaker now. He wants the Sengol to go from Lok Sabha. He calls it an era that has gone from India, and he says it should be replaced with the constitution in the Lok Sabha. What do you make of this fresh controversy regarding the Sengol?
Then we should remove Satyameva Jayate, which is from the Vedas, because that connects us to an idea which is not a constitutional idea, because the constitution means 1950, 26th January. Of course, it is not the constitution of 17th December 1976. So, what connects you to the pre-constitution days is unacceptable to the Constitution of India. Then you must remove Yato Dharma Stato Deha Stato Jayega from the Supreme Court motto. Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha should go out of the law university's motto and research and analysis being motto. What are you saying? This country was not born on 26 January 1950. This has an undateable commencement. Unless you are wedded to that idea, democracy in India will not survive. It is not a game of numbers. Pew Research in America, they came out with a very profound document which the Indian politicians must read. It said that there is polarization in America. Polarization is common in all countries. But the polarization in America is dangerous because there is nothing other than politics which binds the Americans by this bipartisan politics. But in India, as Mahatma Gandhi said in Hind Swaraj, that we are bound by the people's faith in rivers, in temples, in millions of people moving from one end of the country to the other.
Yes.
And as Vivekananda and Aurobindo said, we revere the entire country. That is what is the foundation of Indian Republic.
Okay.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.